Okay, hello. Hi. My name is In Vivid Color, coach of the South Texas Sable Eyes, and this is going to be the week 2 team builder for the WBE. We're doing it live. If anyone in the chat could tell me if my audio is mixed properly, as in my voice isn't overshadowed by the music, that would be fantastic. I did not test that before going live. But if you don't know what this is, we're doing our team builder. I decided I'm going to try to live stream them and see how that goes for the first 3 weeks of the WBE. I almost didn't do this one because my fiance and I are going through a small crisis right now. Like nothing life-threatening or awful. Essentially, we are unsure. This is very not relevant to the team builder at all, but we went to LA about a week ago for her to do an interview, and we stayed at a hotel, and the hotel had good reviews up front on like Yelp, and then now we are concerned that we might have brought bed bugs back with us, so we went through a little bit of a crisis about that. Anyways, that's not relevant to the team builder at all. It almost didn't happen this week, but I was committed, so hi, here I am. I hope people appreciate this. Also, if you enjoy the live team builders, please let me know, and if you're watching this after the fact, please go ahead, like once it's uploaded. Hi, my name is Vivid Color, coach of the South Texas Sable Eyes. This is week 2 versus Joey, aka PokeMD, coach of the Bronx Beretics. And I would love it if you would leave a like and subscribe if you're new here. If you are new, or if you subscribe during, this is also, I don't know, I'm holding the wand I made in Harry Potter Club at school, so neat. I'm a teacher, so I'm not a student, just so we're clear on that. I'm very scattered right now, so my team builder is going to be a little bit eclectic this week, but a few things. If you're new here, subscribe. If you enjoy this, please like the video. It would mean a lot to me. And what else? Subscribe, like, leave a comment in the comment section down below, letting me know what you think of the team. I'll probably reiterate all the stuff at the end of the video. And if you're in the chat, hi, I will take questions at the end of this team builder, like questions about what I could have brought or why I brought what I did. I think that's kind of neat, and it lets you get some insight on why I did what I did. Anyways, okay, let's hop right into this, because I am on a little bit of a time crunch, because I'm going to a 21 Pilots concert later, so if you don't acknowledge that this day is busy for me, it's a little hectic. Bed bugs, 21 Pilots, it's the works. Anyways, okay, hi. So Joey's team, everything is listed right. It's how do I get this to point the right way? Over here, there we go. If we could just spell it to lose, or curse, hex, whatever the Harry Potter terminology is, I think it would be a hex, then we would. But obviously we're going to have to fight really hard because Joey's really, really good at this game. But his team is Gothitelle, Breloom. If you can't tell, the Toxapex I couldn't really make look good, but it's Gothitelle, Breloom, Toxapex, Volcarona. What is this thing called? How am I gurgling this early? How am I gurgling this soon? Crocodile, Bronzong, Comfey, Kabutops, Piloswine, and Megaglade. So Joey's team really threatening, not really great hazard removal options, like Comfey defogs, Volcarona defogs. Volcarona is an awful defogger, and then Kabutops spins. So right off the bat, I'm not gonna lie to you, off the bat it looked like I had matchup on him, like I had just a better matchup on paper. My team being, if you can't, I'll just reiterate the whole thing: Mew, Hawlucha, Tapu Bulu, Nidoking, Galvantula, Moltres, Noivern, Alolan Sandslash, Barbicle, and Mega Sharpedo. So it looks like I had matchup on him because his speed tiers, much like Nexus's, aren't great, but he does have that Mega Gallade that breaks into the 110. So I don't just get to outspeed it with my entire team. But anyways, then when you look deeper into it, Comfey is actually just a massive threat. My best answer to Comfey, since it gets priority Draining Kiss and Giga Drain, is just Moltres. But Moltres is not fantastic against the rest of this team, and it gets speed tiered by a few things that I would not like it to. So we're just going to go over the team I brought, why we brought what we did, and then I will, take questions at the end. And if you want to ask questions, just stick around in the chat, listen, and then if you want to comment after the fact for watching the re-upload of this or the upload, I don't know how YouTube does it when it uploads your media for you, comment in the comment section down below and let me know what you think. So first thing we brought is the Mega Sharpedo. So this thing behind a substitute, if it ever just gets a chance to be behind a substitute, with this EV spread of 108 HP, 180 attack, and 220 speed, we outspeed everything except the Mega Gallade. And behind a substitute, specifically, we can pick off a lot of these threats. Like, for instance, Things like the Gothitelle almost always gets one shot. The Breloom gets one shot by Psychic Fangs. The Toxapex, depending on spread, gets two shot by Psychic Fangs. The Volcarona, I think, gets one shot by Waterfall. Krook almost always gets one shot by Waterfall, except if it's Moxie. If it's Intimidate, then it's always two shot. Especially defensive Bronzong always gets one shot by Crunch. Comfey, I think, always gets two shot by Crunch into Waterfall. Comfey is the big threat here, obviously, like Comfey and Breloom, because they have priority moves that can just OHKO the Shark, depending on spreads. Like Breloom Mach Punch always OHKOs Shark. Comfey's Draining Kiss, if it's not like super specially invested, we have a shot to live, but we'll never live too. And then Kabutops, I think, always dies to like double Crunch. Piloswine should always die to double Waterfall, and the Mega Gallade should always die to double Crunch. So this set specifically like kills his entire team basically. And if we get behind a substitute sort of like in the late game, or if we switch into our Shark on a Toxapex or something like that, it should be relatively easy for us to sort of force something out and then, you know, basically like put in a lot of work and do damage. So that's the idea behind the Shark. I'm a big fan of the nickname. The Meg is here to stay. I got a couple compliments on it, so I'm a fan. Echo here. This is sort of like our counter Mega Gallade tech, because we don't really have a fantastic answer to Mega Gallade if it just gets like a Sword Stance up. But Echo will always outspeed, and a Flying Z Hurricane, I think OHKOs even the most defensive spreads. I could be super wrong on that. Like if it's, I didn't run calcs obviously for like max HP, max SpDef, like whatever plus SpDef nature would be. I'm stuttering here because I don't know all of my lingo. But just in general, this, like, if you look at this matchup this week, one, I think that Defog is pretty necessary because rocks suck a lot for us, like at least a lot more than they do for Joey. So having access to Defog looked really good. Roost looks good because this thing has not a ton of bulk, just 100 HP, but just from its typing, it can take a lot of like, kind of like, you know, neutral hits. Like this takes both of Mega Gallade's dual stabs like at least once, you know, if it doesn't have like a Sword Stance up. We're obviously not taking ice type moves, but you know, we can take a lot of neutral hits, we can take a lot of the resisted hits and sort of like roost up and then defog away hazards and then U-turn, because the Gothitelle was the other thing besides the Comfey that was kind of really hard to prep for. Like when you look at Joey's team, I really do think that I kind of have matchup here, right? Like in my mind at least, but then when you start like digging deeper, things like Comfey, Gothitelle, and then potentially like the Piloswine are pretty hard for me to break. Especially, you know, as fantastic of a player as Joey is, like pivoting around, saving certain things that he needs to. So I think we had to bring this. We had to bring U-turn and Volt Switch, just like sort of like momentum granting moves on a lot of the Pokemon that had access to them this week, just because getting trapped by Gothitelle is absolutely atrocious. So anyways, this set, really just a Gallade counter. We could have slotted Flamethrower onto here over Defog. I think, I don't think we can get rid of Roost, but we can definitely have slotted Flamethrower to potentially check the Zong, because the build I brought ended up, I think, being a little bit soft to Zong. Or this build specifically, I think ends up being a little soft to Zong, just because the Shark OHKOs it. This can't really touch it even a little bit. Our Kaiju here actually gets a really super effective Flamethrower off on it, but we never want to take a Psychic. So anyways, we're transitioning to the next set now. This is just a pretty standard like offensive like breaker Nidoking. Last week I think we brought kind of a similar set, I want to say, but we were modest instead of timid. This week I couldn't really count on Sticky Webs, just getting them set up, but like I speed tiered a lot of his mons anyways, but just like I couldn't realistically depend on Galvantula setting up webs to be a game plan, because it looked like if someone had to defog, I was going to be that person, just because rocks hurt me a lot more than they hurt Joey again. So obviously he has Volcarona, which rocks hurt, you know, at least equally as bad as my Moltres, but on top of that, he had access to two really good ground type mons that Galvantula just can't do anything against. Like Galvantula can kill Crocodile with a Bug Buzz, but Zong is taking like no damage from any of Galvantula's attacks, and Piloswine also doesn't take much from Bug Buzz. So Like we could kill the Crocodile, but anyways, the moral of the story is we're not modest this week because we can't count on webs getting picked up or set up. So we're Earth Power. Poison Jab is the tech for Comfey. Like we're still a minus attack nature, but with 28 attack EVs, we always guarantee to Oko, I think, a Comfey that's max HP, no defense investment, which I don't know if he would bring a defensive Comfey or if he would bring like more Spadeffi or if he would just go all special attack HP. So this just gives us a way to always 2-hit KO the Comfey for sure. But if it's just like max HP or close to max HP, I think, but no defense investment, then we can always Oko it that way too. So Earth Power, just seems like the best. Again, this is a Nidoking, so like just Poison Ground dual type stab is really, really hard to switch into. And Earth Power hits, I think, everything except for the Bronzong for at least reasonable damage. And then we opted for Stealth Rock over just Rock Slide. Rock Slide gives us an Oko move on the Volcarona, but just setting up Stealth Rocks and putting that pressure up, especially since, again, it doesn't look like he has great hazard removal options, seems like a good way to sort of like chip down some of his Mons, get things in range of like my Sharpedo for the things that it can't quite Oko, or for potentially the Tapu Bulu. So we're going to the next set here. This Tapu Bulu looks fantastic against his entire team. The spread is really weird. It's enough HP and Spadef to live... Hold on, I'm going to have to remember this. I have to remember why I should take notes for these things. Anyways, let's talk about the non-bulk investment first. So this amount of attack at Adamant gives me the ability to, I think, always Oko the Crocodile even after an Intimidate. I could be wrong on that, but it's at least a 2-hit KO. This amount of attack plus Adamant gives us the ability to always 2-hit KO the majority of his team, right? Like, I think Gothitelle, unless it's like, depending on investment, obviously, Gothitelle most likely gets 2-hit KO'd. Breloom, I think, gets 2-hit KO'd, but it can also 2-hit KO us back if it's like Bullet Seed. Toxapex, I think, is the one that probably does not get 2-hit KO'd by a Horn Leech, but just a combination of Leech Seed and Horn Leech and Substitute, and we're never dying, or like the Scald from a Toxapex is never breaking our Substitute, means that we can almost always force it out. Volcarona gets one-shot by Rock Tomb. Again, the Crook dies pretty consistently. The Bronzong doesn't get 2-hit KO'd by anything, but we can always wear it down, just like Subseed. So Subseed, Horn Leech, I think, does like 20%, so that's the other thing that we're not two-shotting. Comfey gets 2 shots, Kabutops gets obliterated, Piloswine gets 2-shot with this spread plus Horn Leech, and the Mega Blade gets 2-shot. So, this set looked fantastic. We have a lot of things we can sub up on, like we can sub up on potentially the Crook, the Toxapex, the Breloom. There's just a lot of things that we have potential to sub up on, and there's a lot of things that really just can't damage us much. We just have to watch out for like arbitrary poison coverage. I think that Tapu Bulu is actually a really, really big part of my game plan this week. Again, it sets up the terrain for the Crook, so he has to bring a weaker ground type stab or risk his Earthquakes getting kind of neutered. Gives recovery to my entire team, and then we can just like sit in front of things and substitute and Leech Seed them to death. So this, in my opinion, is probably like I think like the glue Mon this week. It's the Mon that is going to hold the team together. Moving on. So this is the first week that I'm sort of bringing, I mean, this is only the second week, but it's the first week I'm bringing sort of like the Tapu, like the Seed Sweeper Hawlucha set. So we're bringing a Tapu plus the Hawlucha. So we're holding the Grassy Seed so we can get that defense boost when it switches in. We have almost no attack investment here. Just basically whatever was left over I put into attack. But this spread lets me outspeed his entire team without a boost, which I think is important in case I can't get the boost off. Specifically because I could make it just outspeed everything once I had the boost up, right? But this bulk investment always lets me sub up in front of a no special attack investments Toxapex. So it lets me set up a sub. He can't break it with one Scalds, and then we can just sort of start dancing. Now this set, I like have to break the Zong down a lot before the set does anything. Like, I just have to, right? Like the Zong and potentially even the Kabutops and maybe even the Piloswine. Like, they're gonna have to have chip on them before I can just like try to sweep with this thing. But late game, it cleans up really well, and in the mid game, it can force them into something like his Comfey, that where we can weaken it to the point of it dying to something else. So the set, again, things have to be sort of like worn down for the set to be viable, but it looked really good this week, and having a fast Tauntmon can shut down things like his Bronzong, can stop his Volcarona from quiver dancing in front of us, can stop the Breloom from sporing. I mean, we just always click acrobatics on the Breloom, but you know, it can just stop sort of like these arbitrary support moves that maybe he would go for in front of a substitute Hawlucha. So this is the set. I think that the combination of these two Mons gives me really good mid game. Just like the Bulu into the Hawlucha, it's always going to be kind of oppressive in prep, right? Like, people always have to think about it. So at least there's that, but we're actually bringing it, and it's a really, really bulky Hawlucha comparatively. So hopefully we put in work with it this week and we play smart. And then the last Mon is sort of, you know, the Mew, the glue Mon here. This is, again, like, I'm bringing a lot to sort of like check the Mega Gallade. Like, these three, I want to say these three Mons right here, the Noivern, the Hawlucha, and the Mew are all just like really good Gallade checks. Like, the Mew here can sit in front of a Gallade, take a knockoff, only take like 30 or 40%. I think it's 30. I think it's like a max of 30, not 40. I think 40 is maybe after the berry is popped. So anyways, I think the first Gallade hit does somewhere in the range of like 28 to 30 something percent. And then the second one, basically this Mew is EV'd in a way where we never get 2-hit KO'd by a knockoff from a Gallade. So we never die to just like knockoff. Will-O-Wisp here is really good against a lot of things. Like, it's good against the Breloom, it's good against the Crook, it's good against the Kabutops, it's good against the Piloswine, it's good against the Mega Gallade. So a lot of his sort of like bulky offensive Mons, we can make it to where their offense is very neutered. Psyshock, I think, is important here to have a stab move to sort of hit the Comfey for damage that it can't be reduced by Calm Mind. U-Turn, again, just like I said, like I almost brought U-Turn on Hawlucha, but I think Taunt was more important. But Mew, we had U-Turn because this set specifically gets trapped by Gothitelle and just cannot do anything to it otherwise. So a few of these sets, like this one, the Noivern and the Mew, I think we needed something just to be able to get out of the way of the Gothitelle. A lot of these things the Gothitelle can't switch into. Like, the Gothitelle has a hard time switching into Tapu Bulu, especially from behind a sub. It just can't switch into Mega Sharpedo unless it is Scarfed. And it can't ever just like blind switch into Nidoking because it takes like 70% from an Earth Power depending on spread. So again, a lot of this, a lot of these, like, kind of like this U-turn, I think looks really good. This one doesn't. Like, it just doesn't, but I don't want to get trapped because this is my check to so many Pokemon. So this is the team I'm bringing this week. A lot of hate for the Mega Gallade, maybe not enough hate for the Gothitelle. I will admit right now, the one Mon that I think I'm a little under-prepped for is probably the Volcarona. Against like a +2 Volcarona, like +2 off of Quiver Dance, our answer is like an unburdened boosted Hawlucha, which, don't get me wrong, I think the acrobatics, even with such minimal attack investment, should always kill the Volcarona, or at least it's like a pretty high chance. I think it's like a 90-something% chance to OHKO, with just like this much investment. But other than that, you know, like, we don't have a lot of answers to +2 Volcarona, so I'm gonna have to play around that. But we have answers to everything. The Tapu Bulu, I think, is the most solid set I'm bringing this week because it looks really, really good against this team. But now, I will take your questions. So if you have any questions about the team I'm bringing or why I'm not bringing certain things, please feel free to fire away. This is your chance to get an idea of why I'm bringing what I'm bringing, or to maybe suggest things, ask me for, you know, you can basically ask me for anything except the results of the game, which we already played. So fire away. I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna sip on some water and, you know, just chill. Bailey, what's up? Hi. My favorite Pokemon, I'm just going to take this as like my favorite Pokemon on this team, but it's definitely the Tapu Bulu. I think the Tapu Bulu is built really well. That means Joey sees that too. I wonder what the move is to counter. Wait, what was that? Comfey and Gothitelle are hard to use well in this format, but terrifying in Joey's hands. Yeah, for sure. Like, for sure. I think Comfey is actually, it's not a brain dead Pokemon. Like Hawlucha is something that a lot of people consider a brain dead Pokemon because it's going to do pretty much just similar things each week. Tapu Bulu with a choice band is something that you would consider like a brain dead Pokemon. You know what I mean? Just like Pokemon that they just come in and do one thing. Like this Tapu Bulu I don't think is brain dead because there's a lot of thinking that goes into it. But something like Hawlucha where it just comes in, gets its Unburden boost, gets a grass, like a seed boost, and then sets up a sword stance, like it's pretty brain dead. So Comfey is not brain dead, but I don't think I would say it's like super hard to use. And Gothitelle, I would agree, because you really have to know your spots with Gothitelle. You'd probably have to know a lot of calcs. Why didn't you bring a Scarfer? So David, that's a really good question. I contemplated the Nidoking as a Scarfer for a while because its damage output with a Scarf is still really good. I also this is going to sound weird. I thought about like scarfing up the Alolan Sandslash, just because he doesn't have like fantastic switches into like Ice Steel coverage. Again, the Bronzong. But I feel like the Bronzong switches in on like my entire team except for Moltres. The Moltres is, I think, the one thing that probably looks really good on paper here. But I felt like couldn't make the cut because its speed tier was just in too awkward of a place, and a lot of Joey's priority is really good. Like, the Comfey is not good against Moltres, and I guess to an extent, neither is the Volcarona. So there's probably a solid argument that Moltres should have been, or that Noivern should have been Moltres going in here. But just like getting speed tiered by a lot of these mons and not being an answer to +2 Mega Gallade, I think was the biggest reason why I didn't bring that. But just a Scarfer, I don't know. My personal playstyle, I'm not a big fan of Scarfers. Like, a mon has to be a pretty specific type of Pokemon for me to scarf it. Like, I love scarfing up things like Hydreigon that are really versatile. But I think it just comes down to preference for me this week. I felt like I had good speed tiers versus him, kind of regardless. Especially with just like the Hawlucha and the Noivern and the Mega Sharpedo here. I felt like we speed tiered a lot of his mons well enough. But we definitely could have brought a Scarfer, 100%. That means Joey sees that too. I still don't really understand what that comment means. What about, let me scroll up. Let me see if there are any questions earlier. This hotel out here really using infestations front. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, the hotel on paper seemed fine. In practice, it didn't seem the worst, but now we're just terrified that we have bed bugs and we don't know what to do about it. Like, we called a pest control company and we're trying to see if they'll come out and do a consultation, but they said since it's so new, we should probably just try washing everything and drying it in really high heat, and then seeing where to go from there. Like, if anything persists, then I don't know what we're gonna do, but hopefully it works itself out. Lucha offers pretty good speed control even without Scarfers. It's a good point. Like, that's I think one of my biggest reasons is that Lucha just, like, once it gets to come in and proc its Grassy Seed, assuming I play smart and I don't just let Tapu Bulu die, too early on, or I don't just let it die at like an inopportune time, then Hawlucha can come in and double its speed whenever. And I also always outspeed his entire team, not scarfed, with just the spread. I was referring to the comment that Bulu set seems good against Joey's team. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, he's definitely, like, just looking at the matchup, like, if you look at our two teams, he, like, has to bring something for Bulu. The options here are obviously, like, Poison Jab on Mega Gallade. I want to say that Scarf Kabutops gets access to Poison Jab. HP Poison on the Comfey. Zong can just Gyro Ball it twice, and I think it dies. Volcarona is already solid. He can run Sludge Bomb on... You run Sludge Bomb on the Crocodile, like, it doesn't have a good special attack set, but I'll always die to 2 Sludge Bombs if it's, like, not a negative special attack nature. He can run Sludge Bomb or Sludge Wave on the Toxapex with, like, actual 0 investment. And just because it's stab and super duper effective, it's always going to do a lot of damage. I think that the Breloom gets Aerial Ace, and then I think the best thing on the Gothitelle would be something like Hidden Power Poison. The problem is, like, he can't dedicate, like, all these coverage slots specifically to Tapu Bulu on each of these Pokemon. So, and once I'm behind a substitute, it just, like, doesn't matter. Because I always get to sort of, like, scout for whatever attack he's going to use. And then if he breaks a sub with a move that I think that he's just kind of, like, baiting me to stay in, I can switch. So, anyways, good luck with the bugs. They're so annoying to deal with. Yeah, I really hope they're not a thing. Anyways, all right. thanks for the questions. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because, like I said, I have a concert to go prep for. But it means the absolute most for you to be here. If you're watching this after the fact, please like the video. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment. Follow me on Twitter. I want to say all my information is in the description below. Before I started the video, I don't think the thumbnail was right. I think it was still for like week 1. Because for whatever reason, when you upload a live stream thumbnail on YouTube, it takes like hours to change. I don't know why. I have zero clues why. But Joey's link is in the description down below. Go check him out. The battles will be up tomorrow at, I think, 12 p.m. Eastern. So 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central is, I think, when battles are going up. I need to double check with them. So it'll be bright and early. Not really bright and early, but around lunchtime tomorrow. So if you're looking for some good content to watch around lunchtime, there you go. But all the information should be in the description down below. If you want to like follow me on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. Let me know how we're doing here. And full special crocodile just as a blue check. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're super not wrong. Like, not even a little bit. Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out, guys. It means the absolute most. Again, after the fact, thank you for watching. But I love you, and I'm kind of done here, and I gotta leave. Okay, wait. Let me make sure I can click the stop streaming button, like, as I actually stop streaming. So there's not that, like, weird, awkward, like, interim where I'm like, okay, bye, and then there's a couple seconds where I'm not actually ending the stream. Okay, all right. I'm kind of done here. I gotta leave.